Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It's May the 8th, and we're looking at 2 Kings chapter 18. We're beginning there. We have the decline and the captivity of Judah, and Hezekiah, king of Judah. Now it came to pass in the 3rd year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, that Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign. Now let's just slow up for a minute. There's a lot to cover, but let's think about what's said about Hezekiah. We've begun to see the formula that's used by the scribes in this book. First of all, it talks about whose son he was. He was the son of Ahaz. Next, it tells us in verse 2, 25 years old he was when he began to reign, and he reigned for 29 years in Jerusalem. Okay. Then it says about his mother's name. Now, when it's his mother's name that's mentioned, it's always to her credit. She is the queen mother. She is the one who will be the one who will sit beside him on the throne as his advisor. She was the person that taught him righteousness as a child, and she will see the righteousness worked out in his reign. So his mother's name was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah. So again, you see, it is to Zechariah's credit that Abi was the queen mother. Now verse 3, he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. I can hear all the cheering, hooray, according to all that his father did. Now you'll notice with the other kings it says he did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, but he did not remove the high places. And Israel worshipped Baal and worshipped the gods of the land in secret. It wasn't a public thing. This was a very private, personal thing. Now let's see what Hezekiah did. He did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father did. He removed the high places and broke the images and cut down the groves and broke in pieces the brazen serpent that Moses had made. For unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense unto it. Wow. So this was the brazen serpent that Moses made for the children of Israel when they were in the wilderness. And those who looked at the brazen serpent, they were healed of the snake bites that the Lord had sent amongst the people. This brazen serpent, this brass serpent on a pole, it became an object of worship for Israel, and they were offering incense to it. This is the superstition, the idolatry of Israel. Hezekiah smashed it to pieces. He broke it to pieces. Okay? Now, verse 5, it says, he trusted in the Lord God of Israel, so that after him there was none like him unto all the kings of Judah, nor any that were before him. For he clave to the Lord, and departed not from following him, but kept his commandments which the Lord commanded Moses. So this is what living under law is. Those who live under the law are not saved as Christians are. They are in a covenant, the same covenant as all the children of Israel are, going all the way back to the time when the covenant was founded under Moses and the whole of the nation came into the old covenant. And they had a responsibility to believe the word of the Lord, and through believing to obey the commandments and the principles of the law. So therefore he was a righteous man. He did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord. Now let's look at verse 5. It says he trusted in the Lord God of Israel, so that after him there was none like him of all the kings of Judah, nor any that were before him. He clave to the Lord. Now the word clave there, it comes from the idea of an axe splitting a log. and you clave it into 2 pieces. But you notice when you clave a log, it's possible to pick up the 2 pieces and put them back together again, and they fit perfectly. And they fit very closely, so closely in fact that when you put them back together it appears as if they're one complete log. And this is what Hezekiah was like. He stuck to the Lord, and he stuck to the Lord perfectly. He departed not from following, but kept his commandments. Now verse 7, the Lord was with him. This was the result of those that keep the law. The Lord was with him, and he prospered whithersoever he went forth, and he rebelled against the king of Assyria, and served him not. And he smote the Philistines even unto Gaza and the borders, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced cities. Now it came to pass in the 4th year of Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hoshea, that Elah the king of Israel, that Shalmaneser king of Assyria came against Samaria and besieged it, and at the end of 3 years he took it, in the 6th year of Hezekiah. And so this was the northern kingdom being taken away by the Assyrian. Of course, Hezekiah was king of the southern kingdom. In verse 13, in the 14th year of King Hezekiah did Sennacherib king of Assyria come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them. Now you'll notice that they're fenced cities. Most of the cities of Israel were like Jericho. They were a stone foundation but with a palisade above it, and it was possible for those walls to fall down flat because they were wood. They were a wooden wall. The story of how Sennacherib comes is long and involved, but let's just abbreviate it quickly. Hezekiah gave to the Assyrians all of the wealth of all of the treasures of the house of the Lord. Amazing. Through that he was able to secure some peace. However, Rabshakeh came to speak to Hezekiah and told him how that he's going to come and he's going to destroy the southern cities, and he's going to take away all of their people. And he says, and you will say to me, we're trusting in the Lord. He says, but the Lord hasn't delivered the northern kingdom, has he? And so he won't deliver you either. And I'm going to destroy this place. Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the Jews' language, you see. And he said, hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. And he tells him that he is to bow to him. But you know, the people held their peace. They didn't answer him a word. Why? Because the king was given commandment that they were not to answer. But what did Hezekiah do? It says he went into the house of the Lord. He rent his clothes and he went into the house of the Lord. He covered himself with sackcloth. He humbled himself before the Lord his God. And that's my password for today. Verse 1 of chapter 19. King Hezekiah heard it. He rent his clothes, covered himself with sackcloth, and went into the house of the Lord. And Isaiah the prophet now comes to see him. And he says, this day is a day of trouble and of rebuke and of blasphemy. It may be the Lord thy God will hear all the words of Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria his master has sent to reproach the living God, and will reprove the words which the Lord thy God hath heard. Wherefore lift up thy prayer for the remnant that are left. And Isaiah sends a message to Hezekiah. He says, thus saith the Lord, do not be afraid of the words which you've heard. Okay, because I will send a blast upon him, and he will hear a rumour and will return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own hand. And Rabshakeh returned, and he found that the king of Assyria was at war. And the result of that was that they were unable to come and they were unable to come and conquer the land. Now Hezekiah, verse 14, went up into the house of the Lord and spread all the matter before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed before the Lord and said, and his prayer is wonderful, outstanding, O Lord, God of Israel, which dwellest between the cherubims, thou art the God, even thou alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth. Thou hast made heaven and earth. Lord, bow down thine ear and hear, and open, O Lord, thine eyes, and see and hear the words of Sennacherib, which hath sent him to reproach the living God. Of a truth, the Lord, the kings of Assyria, have destroyed the nations and their lands, and have cast their gods into the fire, for they were no gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore they have destroyed them. Now therefore, O Lord our God, beseech thee, save thou us out of his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that thou art the Lord God, even thou only. And Isaiah comes to Hezekiah, and he says, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, that which thou hast prayed to me against Sennacherib, king of Assyria, I have heard. And this is the word of the Lord concerning him. And there's a long description of the things that the Lord will do to this thing. But at the very end it says, verse 34, I will defend this city. I will save it for mine own sake and for my servant David's sake. And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. Let's just get that a minute. It's 185,000. So this is 185,000. That's the amount of people the one angel can destroy in the night. And when they rose up early in the morning, they were all dead corpses. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt in Nineveh. And it came to pass that when he was worshipping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that his servants smote him with a sword, and his son Esarhaddon, his son, reigned in his stead. See, the Lord did deliver the kingdom of Judah from Sennacherib. And then we have chapter 20. I must move on quickly. Chapter 20. In those days Hezekiah was sick, and the prophet Isaiah the son of Amoz came to him and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. Wow, what a message. Simple, to the point. He says, put your house in order because you're going to die. And Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed unto the Lord, saying, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. Verse 4, It came to pass, before Isaiah had gone into the middle court, that the word of the Lord came to him, saying, Turn around and tell Hezekiah the captain of my people, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, and I have seen thy tears. And behold, I will heal thee on the third day. Thou shalt go up to the house of the Lord, and I will add unto thy days 15 years. And I will deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend this city for mine own sake and for my servant David's sake. And Isaiah said, Take a lump of figs. And they took it and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. And Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, What shall be the sign that the Lord will heal me? And he said, The sign thou shalt have of the Lord will be this: if the shadow go forth 10 degrees, or go back 10 degrees. It is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees, but let the shadow return backwards 10 degrees. So this was the sundial, which normally only ever went in one direction. The Lord was able to turn back time. In this particular case, it would have been the 10 degrees, which probably meant 10 hours. So 10 hours were turned back in time, and this was the sign of the Lord. Now at that time, Berodach Haladan, the son of Beldan, the king of Babylon, sent letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he heard that Hezekiah had been sick. And Hezekiah listened to them and showed them all the house of the precious things, and the silver and the gold and the spices and the ointment, and all the house of his armour, and all the treasures that were in the house, and all his dominion. Hezekiah showed him everything. And Isaiah the prophet came to Hezekiah and said, "What said these men, and where are they from?" And Hezekiah said, "Well, they're from a far country, Babylon." And what have they seen in the house? And Hezekiah said, "Well, everything. I've shown them everything." Isaiah says to Hezekiah, "Hear the word of the Lord. The days will come when everything that's in your house will be taken away to Babylon." Wow. Amazing. And then right at the very end, it says that the rest of the acts of Hezekiah and all his might, and how he made a pool and a conduit and brought water into the city, they're all written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah. And Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and Manasseh his son reigned in his stead. Well, there we are. Wonderful passage. The life of Hezekiah, all within one little reading today. God bless you. Look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.